Since I'm in the Midwest in Missouri, 2008 was the first year where we had a really widespread wet patch across the Midwest. 2004 had a fairly big one, but 2008 was the biggest one, and the thing that really made 2008 noticeable was that similar things happened in 9, 10, and 11, and if it had been a one-time shot in 2008, I might not be talking to you today about this, but black outlined area, more than 16 inches of rain from April through June. Pretty much all the nitrogen went down by very early April, and so it was out there getting wet, and I'm not going to go into the chemistry and biology of it, but it's trouble. And bushels lost, my estimate is 185 million bushels in Iowa that year, 78 million in Illinois. You can see it wasn't as wet. The blue and pink colors mean wetter, and Missouri was wetter, but we don't grow as much corn as Illinois. So I think we lost 68 million bushels, 61 million in Wisconsin. This is based on about 2,000 miles of windshield survey in August and about 1,500 aerial photos also in August. And if I total that up, it comes 463 million bushels. Some very good yields anyway, but you know, it's hard to convince people when they have good yields that they've got a problem, but a lot of them could have made 20 extra bushels. Looking at the 4-year sequence, 2008, 9, 10, and 11, you can see outlined within the thick black lines, large areas of the Corn Belt, each of those 4 years, getting very wet in April, May, and June, and that has really changed our lives in the Midwest and how we think about things. Some people have gotten it all 4 years in a row. And so, as I mentioned before, about 500 million bushels a year is my estimate right now. We've had somewhat better response to this in the last few years. In 8 and 9, we had very little response. In 10, we probably did about 10% of the acres we should have in Missouri, but that was up from 1% the previous years. And 2011, we actually didn't have much of a problem in Missouri. But I'm just going to share some pictures with you. This is from a overpass in central Illinois in August 2009. This is southern Iowa, not only terribly deficient, but also terribly streaked up. Western Missouri is somewhat streaked up as well, terrible deficiencies. I've forgotten what year. Central Missouri, all different kinds of soils, river bottom soils, deep lush soils, clay pan soils, till soils, just about anything you can think of in terms of soils. I've seen some terrible nitrogen deficiency on it. This particular field we were able to get a yield map of, and the darkest corn in the field was around 170 bushels, the lightest corn was around 80. And if we just say, what if it had all been at the darkest end and as dark as some of the surrounding fields had, we would have been about $45,000 to the plus, or the other way to look at it is the failed nitrogen delivery to this crop cost this producer about $45,000 just in this one field. And I find that, you know, I can talk about 500 million bushels and it's just almost impossible to wrap your mind around, but if you think about $45,000 lost in one field, that's a little more accessible, and that's the kind of numbers that this producer was looking at. A few more photos, eastern Missouri, again very yellow and very streaked up. Southern Indiana, eastern Illinois, some more eastern Illinois. And there's lots of images on my website. I have a nitrogen loss page that I maintain with a number of presentations on it, but photo galleries. Right now, 2009 and 2010, we have a bunch of fields that were deficient up there. The 2008 ones are not posted yet, but it's in our plans to get them up. They're grouped by the nearest town, and they're pretty much so far just in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Iowa, I believe. But for those of you who are interested, you can find some more.